All right, so welcome to the next Q&A, and this is my second Godzilla Q&A. Reason why I'm doing a Godzilla Q&A, another one, because tomorrow is Godzilla Day. So in honor of that, and also the fact that we're probably going to get some news, hopefully, of the -1 sequel, I decided, you know what, I want to do some early celebration for Godzilla. So here we are now. If you would like to be part of the next Q&A, just hit the link in the description box below. Head on over to my Patreon. Hit the first tier. That'll allow you access to do so, as well as check out all the stuff on the first tiers as well. Other than that, I want to thank everyone who sent in questions for this Q&A, and let's get started with the video. Starting off with David Deister, who asks, how would Studio Ghibli do a Godzilla movie? I would be curious. That's something I think a lot of people have been curious about. What if Studio Ghibli did a Godzilla movie? Studio Ghibli and Toho do have a working relationship, but I don't know. It would look beautiful. Let's be real. Let's be honest. It would look incredibly beautiful. This would be like Godzilla in the form of Studio Ghibli would be a fascinating thing to see. But I don't know how it would work because I don't know. Studio Ghibli would probably make this the most saddest film since Grave of the Fireflies. That's how I kind of imagine it. Grave of the Fireflies, but with a kaiju. And it would just make you go, I don't know if I want to watch another Godzilla movie again, or I don't know if it's beautiful. I feel so many things. I never want to watch this movie again. That's not a knock on Grave of the Fireflies. It's a beautiful movie, but it's one of those movies you can only watch once because you know the emotional ass-kicking you will get is just too much for you. Godzilla, a Studio Ghibli Godzilla film would be something of just beauty, but also I feel like it would just be emotional devastation. There's no other ifs, ands, or buts about it. Anyway, second question. What would a Godzilla vs. Sonic the Hedgehog crossover be like? I think we are going to get this. Real talk, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I definitely think Godzilla vs. Sonic is gonna happen. After Godzilla Ninja Turtles, IDW is gonna go to their next big cash cow for, IDW stuff. And that is going to be Sonic. But the thing of it is, and like I said in the Justice League Sonic crossover, Toho, and I think also Sega, respectively, have a clause where Godzilla can't lose fights in crossovers. He can lose them in comics, in like the mainstream comics apparently, Godzilla can, but he can't lose a fight in a crossover. So Sonic can't lose, Godzilla can't lose. I think the fact of the matter is, like, how would that look? I think it is going to happen. I think there is a big chance that we are going to get Godzilla versus Sonic. But what could happen in there, I don't know. We probably would have, like, Eggman build, like, an egg-shaped Mechagodzilla, because I guarantee you that would be a thing. Also, Chaos Control Godzilla, because that would sell toys. I guarantee, like Godzilla using the Chaos Emeralds, there you go, right there. That would sell so many toys. Chaos Control Godzilla, or Chaos Kaiju. Yeah, the Sonic Godzilla Chaos Kaiju toy line. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Tell me that you wouldn't buy. Like, I'm not even a Sonic guy, and the thought of, like, Chaos Control Kaiju toy line would not sell like hotcakes. I would buy the whole line. Anyway. So yeah. What would it be like? I don't know. But we probably would have, like, an Eggman-shaped Mechagodzilla. We probably have Super Sonic versus Godzilla. And like I said, Chaos Control Godzilla would also be a thing. That's how I see it. Third question. Which Godzilla movie is your favorite from each era? Ooh, this is a good one. Showa. What is my favorite from the Showa era? My favorite from the Showa era would probably be I know it's kind of a basic answer, but 54 is just perfection. So that's Showa. So that's going to go in the realm there. Heisei, Heisei's a little tricky because there are some serious gold in there. But for me personally, it's Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. Godzilla versus King Ghidorah is my favorite Godzilla film outside of 54. The time travel makes no sense, but it's a beautiful. I think it's a great film. I think it's a great character arc for Godzilla. And I think it's a very fascinating film. Yeah, I really love it. And yeah, so for me, Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah is my favorite of the Heisei. Millennium, Millennium's a little tough. Maybe I've warmed up on GMK, but I might put Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. I like that one, and Akane is a great character. Yeah, Akane is a great character. So I'd probably say Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, or either GMK or against Mechagodzilla. But if I was to pick, I'm kind of worn out with GMK, so GMK. For MonsterVerse doesn't really have for me it's not a Godzilla film. See, for the MonsterVerse, my favorite film in that franchise is Kong Skull Island. Like, it's not even a Godzilla film. He's Godzilla adjacent, but it's not there. But if I was to pick, like, a favorite of the Godzilla films, probably say, like, New Empire. I just think that movie's just fun and bizarre. It's like a show-off film. Or King of the Monsters. If I was to pick, maybe King of the Monsters. Even then, I'm not satisfied on that because, yeah. Anyway, Reiwa. What's my favorite Reiwa? It's -1. Yeah. Currently, because again, we're still in the Reiwa era of Godzilla, so it's the Reiwa. It's -1. That's the reigning champ. Anyway. So thank you for those questions, David. Moving on now to Tom Hibbert, who asks, do you think the biggest strength of Godzilla x Kong movies is that you can tell Godzilla and Kong are thinking without saying a word? I think that does play a role into why those movies work so well. But personally, I would say the reason why I think it works so well is because they're just fun. That's really what it is that those movies are just fun, like big budget show-off films. That's really what it is that they're just these big budget show-off films, and they don't have to pretend to be anything else but that. That's just my opinion. Second question. I know the 1950s weren't exactly known for a great localization, but in the American version of Gojira, later named Godzilla King of the Monsters, do you feel like the addition of Steve kind of weakens the original message of Godzilla, as Steve, most of the movie, blankly stares at what he's supposed to be scared of and essentially explaining the movie to the audience? That was kind of that's kind of the weak. It is a bit of a weakness, I will admit. But the thing of it is that Steve Martin is a great addition, in my opinion. And yes, he's a reporter. He's supposed to explain stuff. Also, the character of Steve Martin, like most reporters and characters of the 1950s, especially for men, were basically like be straight-laced, be unafraid of anything, and yeah. But I will say in that monologue where Steve is like telling the world about Godzilla, you can hear the fear in his voice a little. Like you can hear the cracks in his voice where he's like, "Yeah, this thing is terrifying," and my mind is like trying to mentally comprehend that. So I do defend the character of Steve Martin, especially since Raymond Burr himself. In both instances, when he came back for Godzilla, the Return of Godzilla, in King of the Monsters, he basically saved a lot of the movie from getting chopped up more than it did because he understood the cultural impact that it had on Japan, and wanted to really at least save some of the message. That was the same time when the character was brought back for the '84 film, and in there, Raymond Burr went to Roger Corman's face and was like, "I'm not doing this movie because Corman wanted to make it more of a comedy, but Raymond Burr wouldn't do the film if they did that, and because he understood that like this, the characterization of Godzilla is too important. So yeah, I I will always defend the character of Raymond of Steve Martin and the actor of Raymond Burr, because the dude literally understood this is something important. Like, it may not be from America, but this is something important to the world. So, respect. Anyway, third question. I don't know if this is just me, but I feel like Ren Serizawa from Godzilla vs. Kong was supposed to have a larger role of him wanting revenge on Godzilla because he blames him for killing his father. Yeah, that was supposed to happen. For those who don't know, there were tons of reshoots for Godzilla vs. Kong. You guys remember that toy, the toy line where it had Godzilla getting this like mecha armor, and there were other things that were supposed to be in the film, but then the rewrites happened and we lost a lot of those toys? Yeah, that I'm pretty sure Serizawa's son getting revenge, or that explained further. It is explained in the novelization of Godzilla vs. Kong, and talking more about it. So, there is that. But yeah, the big thing of it is that the reshoots happened and it just kind of butchered it. And I wish we got more of Ren Serizawa rather than just having O-Face when he's connecting to Mechagodzilla. But what can you do? Thank you for those questions, Tom. Moving on now to Nolan Unejo, who asks, do you think King Ghidorah would make a good Wonder Woman villain? Yeah, I mean, he's technically fighting Wonder Woman right now in Godzilla vs. Kong vs. Justice League 2. And yeah, he's supposed to be like the Hydra, so yeah, no doubt in my mind. Yeah, so to answer your question, that's already happening. Like, I think even Diana called King Ghidorah the Hydra, or something like the Hydra, I think. But yeah, so yeah, it's already happening. Second question. What kind of fatality moves would you give Godzilla if they made a kaiju version of Mortal Kombat? Well, the one I definitely give is a reference to 2014's when he kills the Muto, the just atomic breath down the throat. That would be cool. I think that would be a fun one. That would definitely be one. Another one would be like Godzilla maybe doing the atomic pulse and just frying them down to a skeleton. I think something like that could work, honestly. But yeah. Those are just a few ideas. Third question. If the Godzilla universe had become part of a comic book universe, which one do you think would be right and why? Well, I mean, Godzilla's kind of devastating the Marvel Universe right now, isn't he? Like, he's just kind of absolutely wrecking the Marvel Universe as it stands. So, I don't know, like, maybe the Godzilla universe could work in Marvel again. Kind of feel like it'd probably be Marvel. Yeah, that's where I'm kind of leaning towards, is the Marvel Universe. Thank you for those questions, Nolan. Moving on now to Jason Voorhees 2011, who asks, what is the most underrated Godzilla movie in your opinion? Most underrated Godzilla movie. I'm going to say one of the most underrated is Godzilla 1984. That movie, I don't know why people don't like it. It's a scary Godzilla film. It's also got a great political backdrop of the Cold War. It has so much going for it character-wise, and no one really pays attention to it. Or at least not as enough as they should. So I would say Godzilla 1984, followed by Godzilla vs. Biollante. The start of the Heisei era, everyone talks about how the Heisei era is like the peak of the Godzilla mountain for eras, but no one gives 1984 or Biollante their flowers. They don't. I feel like it always felt weird to me that was always the case, is that they never really felt like they were giving those movies their due. And only now we're kind of starting on that. If I was to say like another one, goddamn chair. If I was to say like another one, it'd probably be... I don't think a lot of people respect Terror of Mechagodzilla. For some reason, like, I know it's the end of the Showa era, but I think it's a good. No one really talks about it or gives it any credit. Whenever we talk about Mecha Godzilla in the show wire, it's always Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla, which is a good movie. But Terror of Mecha Godzilla, I think, has a lot of great stuff to it too. But no one really gives it enough credit. Yeah, I also think another one is Tokyo SOS. Is it as strong as Against Mechagodzilla? No, but I think it has enough merit to it. And, yeah. So those are a few movies I would consider underrated Godzilla films. Second question. What other properties do you think the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla could cross over with, like you said, with Archie? Yeah, Archie is one, like Godzilla versus Archie, which, by the way, I don't think I'm starting to lose faith in that, because we were supposed to get some kind of news, because it was quote unquote leaked that we were getting Godzilla versus Archie, but we saw nothing of that from Archie Comics, so I don't think that's going to happen, at least not for now. I still hold out hope that we get Godzilla versus Archie at some point. But if I was to pick like a Hanna-Barbera crossover, like if I was to do see a Hanna-Barbera Godzilla crossover, my genuine pick for a Godzilla, like if I was to use that Godzilla, I think it'd be cool if we did another Ninja Turtle crossover, but with the 80s cartoon, because we had Batman crossover, the 90s Batman crossover with the 2012 animated version of the Ninja Turtles. So, and we had the 80s Transformers meet Star Trek, the animated series, in a crossover. So how about we just run it back with 80s Turtle with like a Saturday morning cartoon? I think that could work. Another one, I'd say, how about MLP? Yeah, let's do My Little Pony with now that they're over at Boom. Maybe we could do that, or we could do, I had another one and I just lost it. Oh, Street Sharks. Yeah, how about that? Anyway, those are just a few ideas right there. Third question. If you could create an original kaiju, what would it be like as an ally or enemy to Godzilla? Well, if I was to I always had this idea for a kaiju of like a monster made of pure molten magma, and he's more inspired by like the monsters of the Marvel 1960s era, where they have names and they can talk and they all want to conquer the world. So this monster would be called Magar, the Molten Menace. So Magar would be just this giant molten golem. Like he's just made of molten rock and lava, and looks like he's melting all the time. Probably be, and of course, as you can imagine, he'd be like an enemy to Godzilla. Yeah, so there you go, Magar. There you go. That's what I got. Thank you for those questions, Jason. Moving on now to Gordon Rajani, who asks, first question, recently finished Godzilla's Rulers of Earth. If you've read it, do you have a favorite moment? Oh, I have read it. Not only have I read it, I own the original 6 volumes of the comic. That comic is like a gold standard for Godzilla IDW comics. But favorite moments, they're all fights. Like it's all just that's what it is. It's just to see Godzilla fighting this character or that character or what have you. So some of my favorite fights would probably be like Godzilla fighting Gyra and Sanda, the Space Godzilla versus Gigan fight. I also enjoyed Godzilla versus Zilla, the proper fight between the two. I also really enjoyed. I also really liked. What was another one I really I thought was pretty fun? Oh yeah, when Orga gets exploded from the inside out by Jet Jaguar. Literally, Jet Jaguar just shrinks, flies into Orga's mouth, and then just expands and blows up Orga from the inside out. Also, when Jet Jaguar flies to fight Destroya, he flies into Kiryu and activates the Absolute Zero cannon and freezes Destroya, then smashes him. It's perfect. It was it was so good. Those are some of my favorite moments right there. Second question. Apparently, there was supposed to be a 60s Batman and Godzilla crossover that was ultimately never named. Have you heard of it, and would you like to see it? Yeah, I do know. There was, after King Kong versus Godzilla, Toho, and I think someone over who wrote King Kong versus Godzilla, at least the American edition, wanted to do Batman 66 and Godzilla. This is why I really want to see DC and IDW collab for a Godzilla Batman 66 crossover. That's one of my other White Whale Godzilla crossovers, is to have to do like a unused version of that script, because I think you can still find the Adam West Batman script and do a Godzilla versus Batman 66 crossover. Be so much fun. Like, make it a show-off film, some like stuff like that. Yeah, would absolutely love it. And I would love to see that done in comic form. Absolutely. Anyway, thank you for those questions. Oh, wait, you had one more. I'm sorry. What's another giant monster from a kaiju movie you'd love to see Godzilla fight? Daimajin. Daimajin is definitely one. I know everyone's going to say Gamera, so I'm not going to use Gamera here. Daimajin. Another Katakawa / Toei / now Sony property. So Daimajin would be my pick. I would also say another monster. Maybe I'd love to see him fight the dinosaurs from Primal Rage. That'd be a fun one, but we'll never get that one. So those are a few. Thank you. So thank you for those questions, Gordon. Moving on now to Alistair Bondman, who asks, I'm hardly an expert, but it seems like Mothra, despite her being the queen of the monsters, gets beaten in every film she's ever in. I think past times she was shown with some respect, but could you make if you were to make another Mothra game, movie, comic, how would you give Mothra her long-deserved W, and what any new powers would you give her? Well, she's kind of gotten W's in a lot of these films, like the Mothra Rebirth trilogy. Technically, it's Mothra Leo who gets those, but yeah. And in the recent comic, the Mothra Gemini from the Mothra Queen of the Monsters comic, she gets some W's too. Yeah. So it's not like Mothra's out here losing fights all the time, but she does lose a lot of fights, but because those are Godzilla's films, not Mothra films. But yeah. As for new powers, I'd probably give her like a force field ability. Like maybe her wings can create like a rainbow kind of force field around her for a bit. That'd be neat. Anyway, second question. While Zilla, the animated series from the 90s, mostly stuck to an original cast of kaiju for Big Z, what traditional enemies and friends would you have liked to have seen adapted as the face of that series? I'd probably have like Anguirus. Anguirus would probably be one. Another would probably be a lot of the Earth. I would say a lot of like new versions of the Earth-based kaiju. Those would be the ones I would pick. Are like Anguirus, Baragon, the Gargantuas, Gorosaurus, Varan. None of like the space monsters. I think like we get enough of them, so those are the ones I'd probably pick the most. Are like the like the Earthbound monsters. Anyway, third question. If you were given a chance to create a new kaiju for Godzilla, but associated with various countries, like how Kong is associated... Okay, this one I'll answer because it's supposed to be more of a... this one is a variation of... it's a little differential from what I wanted, what Jason's question was, because it's supposed to be more in line with a country. So, yeah. Basically, Alistair's question is, like, what if it's a monster from a different country? Like, how would it be rather than just the one I just said, make up one? So make one specifically for a country that's in the Godzilla universe. I'd probably make one based around Africa. There is like a giant monster called the Grootslang, which is supposed to be this elephant cobra hybrid, and base it around that. So probably make like the Grootslang. There you go. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Alistair. Moving on now to Bill McLaughlin, who asks, what other historical eras would you like to see be explored from Godzilla? Vietnam. I'd love to see another story set in Nam, because I love that period piece idea from Godzilla Half Century War. So Godzilla in Vietnam. I'd like to see Godzilla just interacting with wars. Like, I want to see Godzilla interacting with, times of war. Obviously, he can't be part of the Korean War or World War II or World War I because he didn't exist at that point. Unless IDW decides, like in Godzilla Rage Across Time, where it's like, Godzilla's always been here. He's not a radioactive monster made from the bomb. He's something else, which I don't like. That defeats the point of Godzilla, but that's a story for another time. As I was saying, I would probably have but Godzilla during Vietnam. I'd probably have Godzilla during. I'd love to have Godzilla wander into the, during Operation Desert Storm, or Godzilla wandering into the conflict between Afghanistan and Russia. Maybe even the Falklands. Some ideas there, but other eras outside of war, historical eras. Maybe if we were to take out the Atomic Age stuff, I'd probably have Godzilla during the Industrial Revolution, just to have Godzilla towering over Victorian London. Maybe even during the Civil War, just have Godzilla kind of trouncing through and make everyone realize, wow, we are tiny compared to that. Just a few ideas like that. I think that would be a lot of fun. Second question. How would Godzilla fare in Warhammer Fantasy? Incredibly well. Godzilla would fare incredibly well in the Warhammer Fantasy universe. No doubt about it. Godzilla would absolutely just crush it in the Warhammer Fantasy universe. I think Korn would be laughing like a schoolgirl of seeing all the devastation he could wrought on him. I can even see Godzilla trying to throw hands with the Chaos Gods themselves. Third question. With the success of Godzilla -1, do you think we'll see a return of the idea of Godzilla being an allegory for nuclear power? I think that's a strong sentiment. I think if when we get an announcement for, which I'm hoping we get at least a title drop and maybe some news tomorrow for Godzilla, for the announcement of Godzilla, at least a title drop and maybe a loose explanation or bio of what the movie's going to be about. But I do feel like he's Yamazaki's going to build on all of those themes from the original film and place them here. I do think that's going to be incredibly relevant to what happens in this film. No doubt about it. I think that's what's going to happen here. Anyway. Thank you for those questions, Bill. Moving on now to Hunter Johnson, who asks, would a lot of legendary Pokemon work as opponents for Godzilla? Probably, yeah. I'd definitely say Rayquaza. Rayquaza is he was the first one to come to mind. Godzilla versus Rayquaza would be fun. Probably even say Palkia and Dialga, maybe even Arceus, because Godzilla will throw hands with a god. We've seen it before. Because he's I'm the only one I have God in my name, so I'm going to throw hands with everybody. Yeah, so I bet Rayquaza is the first and foremost one. Second question. Why do people love Godzilla -1 but hate the MonsterVerse? It's not so much that, most Godzilla fans appreciate, or should I say, actual Godzilla fans appreciate the MonsterVerse and what it has done for the population. Getting more people into watching Godzilla. -1 is, just the peak, but it's hard to explain because some people like look down at the MonsterVerse, even though I have to stress without the MonsterVerse we wouldn't have -1. So keep that in mind. I really always have to stress that. But yeah, that always bothered me myself because, like, yeah, you can have multiple forms of Godzilla. Japan can do the deep thinking stuff, and America can do all the fun explosion Showa era stuff. It's not that hard. Anyway, third question. Out of all of Godzilla's villains, would Destroya be considered the most evil since he looks like the devil? I mean, he is evil, and he does get the title of killing Godzilla, but I would dare say that he's not the most evil. I would say that title goes to Space Godzilla or King Ghidorah. The reason why I say King Ghidorah. The reason why I say Space Godzilla, we'll get to King Ghidorah in a second, but the reason why I say Space Godzilla is because he's one of the most openly malicious kaiju. Other ones are just like, we're bad, but we're under control of something. No, Space Godzilla is like, I want to openly conquer the world. I'm not here to like destroy on behalf of some alien masters. I want to like legitimately conquer the world and rule it, or rule the galaxy. King Ghidorah sometimes is like that, but he's always on the beset of masters or something like that. But Space Godzilla, I'd say, is the most openly evil. But that's not to take away from Destroya either. But yeah. I think those questions, Hunter. Moving on now to the Mount Vernon kid, who asks, how would you rate Godzilla vs. Hedorah? I have a soft spot for Godzilla vs. Hedorah, honestly. I think it has a lot of fun to it. It's also bizarre. And also, I think people forget, without Yoshimitsu Banno, we wouldn't have the MonsterVerse, and thereby we would not have this other age of Godzilla. Because even though Banno-san was, Yoshimitsu Banno, the director of Godzilla vs. Hedorah, was kicked out of Toho Films after Godzilla vs. Hedorah was panned. But he was kicked out by Tomoyuki Tanaka. Banno never gave up his love for Godzilla, and he was the one who really orchestrated the creation before his death of what would be the MonsterVerse, leading to the rise of the MonsterVerse, and thereby getting Toho to create Shin and -1 and all this new era of Godzilla. So yeah. But the movie itself, I think is bizarre, but it's fun in a weird way. So yeah. Second question. I never told you this, but Godzilla vs. Destroya, the film from 1995, was the first Godzilla movie I actually cried. If everyone remembers, where Godzilla had into the nuclear meltdown when his radiation was so critical. I was 13 years old and saw Godzilla. Did I shed tears? Basically, Chris is asking, did I shed tears at Godzilla's death in versus Destroya? I got emotional, but I remember not crying. I remember getting emotional, and yeah, that's kind of sweet, Chris. But yeah, that was an emotional moment, but no, I did not cry during the scene. Anyway, so yeah. Third question. Your views on, do you prefer Godzilla as a force of nature or a force of science, or a little bit of both? It's a bit of both. Godzilla works best as like a monster that essentially is like a testament to mankind's sins against nature and, the cautionary tale of science. For me, it's, like I said, it's a bit of both of where, like, that's what I think Godzilla should be, he should be both. Like, he should be both a testament to, the folly of man, as the classic song goes, and yeah, that's what that's where I stand. I'm sorry, this Q&A's been running a while, but yeah, I've always been a thing of it's a bit of both. While I do prefer him being born of a nuclear bomb, he's still a force of nature. He is the embodiment of the natural disaster made whole. But yeah, that's where I stand on it. Anyway, there you go, guys. That is the second Godzilla Q&A. I want to once again thank everyone who sent in questions for this Q&A. And yeah, if you want to be part of the next one, just hit the link in the description box below. Head on over to my Patreon, hit the first tier. That'll allow you access to do so and be part of the next Q&A. But other than that, I hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.